to those live streaming, you are in the right place at the absolute right time.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Oh, my soul is
welcome here.
You know that your soul is welcome here.
I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome
I'm
here.
getting the message.
I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here.
You know that you are.
My soul is welcome.
Everybody
here.
is.
My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Good morning and welcome to the Spiritual Life Center experience.
Good morning. This is Reverend James Trapp, and I'm Reverend Deborah Phillips. And we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. If you are with us for the very first time today, we especially want to welcome you. And if you're live streaming for the very first time, we also especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every one of us is here by
Divine appointment.
And we're just very excited about our service today. And of course, we always get really excited and relieved when you turn off your cell phones.
Well, put it on vibrate at least. Now that we created that clearing to connect to that presence, let us commune with this presence for a moment and recognize it is always with us, supporting us, moving us forward, uplifting us. It is something that is beyond words. It is something known by many different names. We may call it the divine, the Atman presence, the Christ within, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Regardless of what we call it forth as the activity of our awareness. And as we call it forth as the activity of our awareness, then the thoughts that we have, the words that we speak, the actions that we take are in tune with this one presence, one power, this one reality. And everything begins to work together for our individual and collective good. So we remind each other of this presence. We simply let go of our own preconceived ideas of how things should unfold and let God guide us along the way. Let this presence guide us along the way. And as we do, then everything begins to unfold in order and allow it to order our steps. And so we're grateful for this presence. We're grateful to be the vessels and the vehicles of it, so that we can anchor a little bit more of ever-expanding good in our life and in our world. Amen. You know, each week we affirm the 5 basic unity principles. In the event someone asks, well, what does unity stand for? What do we believe in? Although we don't have doctrines and dogmas, we can at least point them to these 5 principles and invite you to share them together with me. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God. We must take action. Well, this being a new month, If anyone was born in the month of November, we invite you to please stand. We can acknowledge you and sing birthday song to you. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy You had born in November? Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya.
Okay, that was exciting.
Happy birthday to ya.
So while Wednesday is, this week it's the first Wednesday of the month, so that means it's the drumming circle, the Afro-Caribbean drumming circle with Dominic Garcia. And if you have a drum, bring it. We have some that you can also borrow. And then if you're just a little quieter person or want a different experience, I facilitate a spiritual exploration discussion group in the chapel during the same time. So the soup is at 6 and the drumming and discussions are at 7.
Well, from time to time, we give you an update of what's happening in our youth ministry. And so I'm going to ask Reverend Janee come forward to share what's happening with the youth ministry. I was trying to come up with a catchy phrase, but maybe next time.
I've been trying to do that too.
You are enough, so that's it. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, happy November from all of us in Youth Ed. It's good to see you all today. I love the month of November. It's my favorite month because of Thanksgiving, which is my very, very favorite holiday ever. So I just want to say how grateful I am for our youth and our teachers and our volunteers and for all of you who continuously show up to love and support us. So thank you. We're really blessed. And in November, we're going to continue our theme with all of you with Faith in Action, with courage, compassion, and connection. As Brene Brown reminds us, practicing courage, compassion, and connection in our daily lives is how we cultivate worthiness. And our intention for each child is that they know their worthiness and that they know that they're worthy just for being who they are. And oh my God, what amazing beings they are. So we're grateful for all of them. Excuse me. So this weekend, we have 5 of our teens, along with Michael Lawson, at the YOU rally in Aptos, California. Yeah. Yeah, give yourselves a hand because you all helped in getting them there. And we're so grateful. And I'm just so grateful that they have an opportunity to come together with other teens in the Western region and really have fun and play and connect and really go deep, which is so rare for our teens right now with our fast, busy lives with technology. So it's just such a wonderful place for them to be. So thanks for supporting them in that. And one of the ways that you can support us in that is we're bringing back our fabulous jewelry sale. And we're working on putting that together now. And we'll be selling jewelry the first 3 weeks in December. So save the date. And thank you for keeping us in your prayers and supporting us in all the ways that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev.
The choir is having a bake sale today. They've got lots and lots of goodies out there. I had some of their pumpkin pie, so rush out right after service and get your favorite choir goodie.
They have a lot. Please save me for myself so I don't eat it all myself. You know, we've been going through our process of transitioning and evolving and moving into mission-centric ministry. And we've had the great fortune of having Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons to help guide us and coach us along the way. And I've known Gary for like 15 years now, and he probably knows more about, cultural change in ministry more than anyone else in the Unity movement. And so we're grateful to have him here helping us in our process. So I'd like to have him give us a brief update on what's happening in that area and get what's going on.
All right. So there's 2 things I'd like to share with you. First of all, yesterday I met with about 30 folks and the board and staff and other folks. We talked about the next big module coming up in the spring. It's called the Conscious Conversations Project, where everyone's going to be interviewed and find out from you how things are. And so that's going to happen in the springtime. But right now I wanted to share some other things that are upcoming. Two things specifically. I'm going to be sharing what I call the center updates. I'm going to share information about what that's like, and then I'm also going to talk very briefly about the new membership system, integral membership system. So every Sunday at Unity Spiritual Center in Spokane, where I'm from, my wife and I are both co-ministers there, we have what's called center updates. And so I begin by saying, this is a center update with Dr. Gary, an opportunity for me to share things that are often behind the scenes, things that aren't necessarily apparent via our community announcements. And so then I talk about our cultural change process. I share information with our congregation about what's happening behind the scenes with respect to our effort to evolve out of a minister-centric to a mission-centric ministry practice. So the center update process will start next year, and I just want to give you a sense of what that's like. So the first update, each of these updates happen once every Sunday. So there's 4 different updates, 4 Sundays in a month. Oh, sometimes there's 5 Sundays. I'll talk about that in just a second. So just imagine a different update every Sunday. So for instance, the first Sunday of the month is a center update with, let's say, James, and he talks about what's going on behind the scenes. Then there's a community update slot where the community has an opportunity to talk about what's important to convey with respect to what's happening in the context of the community life. And these updates will take the place of some of the announcements. I know you just hang on the edge of your seat for all the announcements that come forth, and anyway, it'll help minimize some of that. And then the third update is from the board. The board is going to once a month begin a practice of conveying to you, the community, what the effort is, what their effort is with respect to dealing with all the operational dynamics of what's happening here at Spiritual Life Center. Then the fourth week, the fourth update is called a Transformational Stories Update. So your stories are what is going to be featured once a month, and there's a system and a structure for how to tell a story, and I'll be coaching James to how to introduce that segment. So how many of you have had your life transformed in your relationship to this ministry? And how many of you have a story to tell? All right. So that's one of the most rewarding and exciting aspects of the center update process. So as you can see, every Sunday there's a new update. It brings excitement. It brings something interesting. And then on the 5th Sunday, you'll continue in the practice only on the 5th Sunday of reciting your cue card and shadow card together. So we're taking that practice out of your regular order of service, although it's already been postponed since your Fall Faith program, and we're going to put it into the 5th Sunday of every month instead. So that helps minimize things. And the second thing I wanted to mention is that what's going to come next year also is a new membership system. So as you can see, the labyrinth is a good metaphor for what this new membership system is like. It's a seamless path from first-timer to competent leader. Right now, all your leaders happen by accident. There's no systematic way of developing people into leadership necessarily. And so the membership system helps to accomplish this. If you think about the labyrinth, there are 2 facets to the labyrinth walk. There's the entry, where you make the journey into the labyrinth, and then there's the return, where you walk out of the labyrinth. And this represents the 2 facets of your mission statement. So if transforming lives is the first part of the journey, having your life transformed, that walk, that journey of transformation is the first phase of the membership process. Bless you, and I'll say more about that process in just a second. Then the return, going back, the second phase of membership is where the governing member dynamic happens, or your voting member process begins. So the community member is the journey into transformational experience, and then the governing member is the journey back in service, making a difference in the community. So think of it this way. When a person comes to the church for the very first time, they don't really have a relationship to the organization. So think about the ministry as having two dimensions to it. It has a community dimension and an organizational dimension. So a new person to the community is not interested in necessarily engaging in the organization in the context of bylaws and staff or finances. That's just not their interest. Their interest is to belong, to feel a part of something bigger. And so as we honor this natural intention, this authentic intention with our process, we create a process by inviting, welcoming people into our community by honoring their desire to belong or be a part of us. There are three things that community members will say yes to. Now, they're not voting members. It's just a formalization of their desire to belong to something bigger. So the three things that we ask community members to say yes to in this new system is to say yes to deepening their spiritual practice, deepening their involvement in the community through some form of service, and saying yes to some form of contribution that the church can count on. And as it works in our ministry, we've had no person say no to being a community member. And as a result of that, we have a pipeline of people who are in the community member experience. And in that process, they're in a journey for a year before they're eligible to become a governing member. Now, this doesn't change any aspect of your affiliation or membership status with respect to where you are right now. This is only for the new people. And it's a way of systematically bringing them into greater awareness, greater ownership, and a greater more authentic way of engaging in a path that can lead to becoming a governing or a voting member, but that's not necessarily the goal or the objective. And so I'll have more to say about all of this, but I'll convey it in a video format. I'll send a video that will offer you a lot more details and explanation with respect to this. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's all I got right now. Thank you very much.
Good. Well, more will be revealed as we go through this process. For the time being, I want to acknowledge some folks who are doing some very important work here at our Spiritual Life Center, our ambassadors, any members of our board of trustees, and our chaplains. We invite them to please stand for those who are present. And our ambassadors are wearing the rainbow ribbons and will help you answer questions and direct you to things that you want to know about our community. And they're just grateful, or we're just grateful to have their consciousness and their ambassadorship here at Spiritual Life Center. So seek them out if you have any questions. Our board of trustees are the ones who really help guide our community. They help set the strategic direction. They engage individuals such as Gary to help us move to even greater heights as a community. And we appreciate their skill set and the time and the consciousness they bring to the community. And they're also available to answer questions that you may have about Spiritual Life Center. And then, of course, our chaplains doing the very important work of holding the prayer consciousness for our community as a whole. And what they will do is just continue to do that all the time. But also today, after our service, if you'd like to have prayer for a challenge you may be moving through, or you just want to leverage up the joy that you're experiencing, they'll be more than happy to hold that with you and to pray with you. And they're available here in the sanctuary or in the courtyard to hold that prayer consciousness with you. So we thank the prayer chaplains for their service to our community.
And if you're here for the very first time, in a moment we're going to ask you to raise your hand. But we want you to know that there are many ways to become connected here at SLC. The people that Reverend James has just introduced are a good start. But if you fill out the card that you will be given legibly, and put it either in the offering basket or take it outside and to the welcome table that's just to the left as you go out the door, they have a very special gift for you.
And if you're here for the very first time, we invite you not just to raise your hand, so we can have some of you to keep your hand up. And we have a purple ribbon that we'd love you to wear on the left side of your body, near your heart. And we just appreciate your consciousness, your presence, and the divineness that you bring to Spiritual Life Center. And we hope that you enjoy your experience and you're open and receptive to receive the divine love that all those here at this community will provide for you. So we thank you, we appreciate you. And at this time, we have an opportunity to not only to greet our first timers, but to greet each other. Just say, you are marvelous and glad you are here.
And we invite you to stay standing. And please join us in singing our Faith in Action song. It is week 5. But first, Paula's got a sermon for you. She's got a sermon for you.
Kill time.
Keep talking.
As a child, more current probably.
Well, we hope you all are a little more comfortable with the song this week. We've had some practice now, so sing out. Okay.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today, facing our challenges, our hopes and dreams, some broken, some departed. If you'll agree with me, consider this. Make a conscious choice to dwell in joy and dare to be delighted. The universe will rise to meet you, open and wholehearted.
On the how-to list for happiness, so many have so much to say. To find your bliss, you have to deal with what gets in the way. You don't have to be a chameleon just to feel like you belong. Standing firm on sacred ground, you are resilient and strong. Just let your story be told, be authentically bold, beautifully imperfect as you gently unfold. Speak your truth, raise the roof, brave enough to share, it'll take you there. I'm all in, I'm all in. Whoa, I'm all in, I'm all in. Wherever I am is where I begin. I'm all in, I'm all in. Whoa, I'm all in, I'm all in. Whenever I feel my heart opening, I'm all in, I'm all in. I said I'm all in.
I'm all in.
You.
I'm
I'm all in.
all in.
These are the gifts of imperfection. You know I'm all in.
I'm all
The
in.
living and loving and loving and playing along. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Whenever I feel my heart opening, I'm all in. Please be seated.
Are we all in?
In. And each year during our Faith in Action program, we go all in with having artists give a kind of pictorial representation of the theme or the topic of each week. And today we have two wonderful artists. First, we have Carrie Willis, and then Ellen Springwind. And here's what Carrie has to say about her artwork for this week as it relates to our theme. Intuition is her title. In her research, Brené Brown found that what silences our intuitive voice is our need for certainty. When we don't trust our own knowing, we start asking others for their opinion. She defines intuition in part as our ability to hold space for uncertainty. In using our intuition, we trust our instincts, experience, reason, and faith. In this painting, from the vantage point of the viewer, the base of the path is clear and defined, but as it winds upward to higher ground, the path becomes narrower and fog clouds the way. In my experience, when my way forward seems unclear, it can be, at the very least, unsettling, if not scary. Charles Fillmore writes that intuition is the wisdom of the heart and that faith in God awakens intuition. My experience has taught me that when a problem seems insurmountable or unsurmountable, if I get still and have faith in my connection with Spirit, my intuition will lead me in the right direction. Carrie Willis, Intuition. And here's Ellen Springwind's. She writes, this collage is called Free to Be Me. On it are several soul collage cards that represent inner aspects of me which support and guide me when I'm involved in the creative process. My inner creative being knows, even when I think I don't know. As Brené Brown says, intuition and creativity go together. I found that they are inextricably linked. When I am inspired to create, I'm in a state of inner listening. Time disappears. I experience a flow of spontaneous expression. In this state of inner listening, I am guided and informed of what comes next in the creative process. This feels like a deep spiritual connection that is peaceful and super alive at the same time. A universal message or image is being born through me. This also involves letting go of knowing and opening to the unknown. The different soul aspects of this piece that help me be an artist are the creator within, my inner priestess walking into the unknown. Leap of faith or spinning a new story. The child within that believes and makes wishes. And finally, opening up is the key to freedom. Ellen Springwind, Free to Be Me.
Beautiful. So now let us speak together our affirmation for the week. I cultivate intuition, trust, and creativity by releasing comparison and my need for certainty. I am faith-filled. And now let's unfold those beautiful words into our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet.
And now, in preparation for meditation, I invite you to take a nice deep breath and settle into your chair, knowing that all is as it should be. And I invite you to sing these words with us as you allow it to move in and through you, knowing that all is as it should be. Please join us in singing. All is as it should be. I mirror you, you mirror me, and all the pain and struggling, only lessons in how to be free. Conscious living helps us to see. My experience is up to me, and all is as it should be. I mirror you, you mirror me, and all the pain and struggling, only lessons in how to be free. Conscious living helps us to see. My experience is up to me, and all is as it should be. I mirror you, you mirror me, and all the pain and struggling, only lessons in how to be free. Conscious living helps us to see. My experience is up to me.
As we move into this time of meditation, let's breathe in the vibration of that beautiful chant. Breathing in and breathing out. I've heard it said that music, vibration, is the language of spirit. And we're listening, God, with each breath. Conscious living helps us to see. My experience is up to me. Conscious living, wholehearted living, living with faith. Faith, that place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we can't see, and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. Breathe that in, deep into your belly, letting go of our fear of uncertainty. Our minds crave certainty. Our minds feel safe when they know. And our mind will try to convince us that it knows what's coming next, that it's in control, that trusting the unknown, trusting the mystery, is a risk. But in truth, the mind has never known. By trusting the unknown, embracing the mystery, we're not giving up control. We realize that we never had control to begin with. It was all an illusion. We embrace the mystery by shifting our attention from thought to the very awake, alive, loving mystery that is noticing thought. The unknown that is seeing through your eyes at this very moment, that is hearing through your ears, that is breathing you in this very moment. Lean back into this allness that you are. Your soul is comfortable in the unknown. The paradox of the unknown is that it is here in the mystery that we know. The unknown, the mystery, is the birthplace of intuition and our creativity. Free from the constriction of certainty, control, and comparing, we are guided to join the flow, to soar free with spirit in all that we do and all that we are. Trusting what is, knowing that everything that happens in our lives, everything, happens to wake us up to that which we really are. As we move into the silence, rest here in the mystery of God that you are. Thank you, God. Thank you for the knowing that our comfort in the unknown, in the mystery, is our comfort in you, God. We're all in, and so it is. Amen.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings. And with every step you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is there in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All the places you will go and the people you will know. Don't worry when or where or how. You don't need to know that now. You're on the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there just having fun. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, amazing,
That was an amazingly sung, well-sung song. Thank you, Second Slice, Soul Light Connection, Paula. It's awesome. I was rewatching the movie Men in Black a little while ago as I was preparing for this talk. And those who know the stories about Tommy Lee Jones, he plays Agent K, and he introduces to Will Smith, who plays Agent J, a device, the neuralizer device. And the neuralizer device wipes out, the memories of anyone around them that they don't want to remember what they saw. Because they're doing this secret operation about aliens, and so they need to make sure this stays top secret. Now, the agents are not affected because, they have their Ray-Ban sunglasses, So when the light flashes on, it doesn't affect them. They deflect the light. And then they take their neuralizer and they turn it on. This is actually a container for a Cuban cigar, but this is the closest I can come to it. So don't light it. All right. And it wipes out the memories of their targets. So their minds would be like a clean slate for whatever period of time that they wanted to wipe out their memory. I thought about that today as I was preparing for this topic, ctrl.alt.delete. Because, when we pick these topics, we pick them like many weeks, sometimes a couple months ahead of time. And it sounded good at the time. But I wasn't quite sure what it meant when I got ready to prepare my talk. But I thought about the Men in Black. We're going on with this Faith in Action series based upon Brene Brown's book, The Gift of Imperfection. And as I look at that Ctrl-Alt-Delete, it's kind of like a spiritual neuralizer. Because when we want to reboot our computer and start afresh, we want to wipe out all the gunk that may have been gumming up the clean operation up until that moment. And in the same way, I think if we want to really live that wholehearted living that Brene talks about, which is living from a place of worthiness, we have to start with a clean slate. Because oftentimes we've accumulated this belief of unworthiness, something that we've learned along the way, but it's not who we are. And I think in order to do that, we have to activate our own spiritual neuralizers, so to speak, to unlearn that which no longer serves us. I know we call ourselves Spiritual Life Center, but we could also call us the SAC Center for Spiritual Higher Unlearning. Higher unlearning, that's what we're doing. Because we're here not to really learn anything. We're here to unlearn some of the things that don't really serve us for moving forward. We're here to unlearn lack and limitation. We're here to unlearn fear, doubt, and worry. We're here to unlearn that we're not good enough. We're here to unlearn all the ways that we may have been moving through life trying to protect a false belief about ourselves, particularly the belief of unworthiness. A lot of our unworthiness comes from some of the misguided notions that we have about religion and, what I would call kind of spiritual religious abuse. The idea of like original sin. And people want to say, where did that begin? We know it's original, but where did it start? Sometimes people point to something in the psalmist wrote in Psalm 51, which says, behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Well, this is all based upon the idea of what I call the Bathsheba, what do they call the Bathsheba Gate? Back then, it had some, we had Watergate, we had Bathsheba Gate, we got some other gates going on today. So we have to know the context in which this was said. David spoke those words or wrote those words, at least attributed to him in the Psalms. And at the time, he was the king of Israel. And he had an affair with a child and had a child from a married woman named Bathsheba. And he was attempting to cover up his indiscretions. And he arranged for the husband of Bathsheba to go to the front lines in battle and then have his troops abandon him. And therefore he would be killed and David would have Bathsheba all to himself. Well, after some reflection, because he had a conscience, David became remorseful. He was remorseful for his dastardly scheme that he had implemented, and he was beginning to feel really bad about himself. So he made that statement in Psalm 51. But eventually he snapped out of it. But it was a point where he began to say that this was not the truth of who I am. It's just an indication of how he felt that particular day based upon some missteps he had taken in life. So he had a very low self-concept. And he expressed that self-concept, that low self-concept in the words that were in that psalm. But this idea of unworthiness or being inherently flawed is not something just in the Abrahamic tradition. It is in other traditions as well. But what we want to do, we want to let that idea of original sin not seep into our minds, because when it does, it becomes how we see ourselves. We begin to live that out. That self-concept begins to become our reality in our lives. And then we believe there's something inherently wrong with us, and we stop treating ourselves with absolute compassion. And sometimes we project that belief onto others and treat them less than the unrepeatable expressions of God that they are. That's the shadow side of consciousness. We want to bring that to the light so we can begin to see the truth. When we believe on some level that we're not good enough, not worthy enough, we start looking outside of ourselves to fill a void that does not exist. I remember reading a while back about a millionaire in the tech industry, who had everything, and so it seemed looking at from the outside. He had one of the smart houses and, all the accoutrements that money could buy in his life. But for some reason, he did not feel good enough because he compared himself to the billionaire that was down the street. But Ernest Hemingway said something to the effect that there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow person or fellow man. That true nobility is being superior to your former self. We want to always look at how we can become better than we were yesterday. And we can take this idea of nobility and use it as an antidote to this flawed belief that there's something not right with us. I remember reading, in Lessons in Truth, the line that Maya Angelou used to talk about how it helped transform her life. And I think it was in the chapter on the nature of God. And there's a line in there that she read over and over again to really overcome her things that were holding her back. And that line said that God loves me. We want to hold that as the truth about who we are. And when we accept that, we understand this statement, that God does not love me because of what I am because God loves me. I am because God loves me. God does not love me because of what I do. God does not love me because of my religion. God does not love me because of the right words I have in an affirmation. God does not love me because of what I create. Each day we want to wake up understanding that we are loved already just the way we are. So we want to use our own spiritual neuralizer, so to speak, to unlearn any belief that we're not worthy or not good enough. Brene points out the need to unlearn or to let go of our need for certainty so that we can tap into our intuitive and our faith faculties. Get it on out, James. She writes that faith is a place of mystery, where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. I think the certainty, the need for uncertainty has its origin in a desire for absolute control over everything around us. But somebody told me that if you want to have control, the best thing you need to do is don't control. It doesn't mean that we don't try to change things we do not like. Rather, we don't want to needlessly fight that which we cannot change. So we invoke that serenity prayer that says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Buddha said something to the effect, at least my paraphrase of it, said, all suffering is a result of wanting things to be different than what they are. We're trying to make it different. I remember years ago that my favorite aunt had passed away, and I was with my nephews at the time, and it was very challenging for them to accept that she had passed on, gone on to the next dimension. And so they wanted things to be different, and they were frustrated, and they were, I could sense that there was something they wanted to do to change that. And I realized that we needed to go through a ritual, to remind them of all the wonderful things she had done in their life, in their lives, and all the things that they can always remember and hold on to. And the reality is that she is a spiritual being, and even though we could not see her in the flesh, that her presence would always be with them. And I began to release their need for things to be different than what they were. They were able to go with the flow, so to speak. And I think there's freedom in that. Letting go sounds simple, but it's not always easy. I was reading a book by a gentleman named Tim O'Brien. He wrote a book called The Things They Carried. And he wrote about being a veteran of Vietnam. And like many others during their 20s during that era, he was drafted into the armed services. And he shared that when he arrived in Vietnam, he stepped into a situation he didn't know whether he was going to live from one moment to the next. And during his tour in Vietnam, O'Brien noted that 85 to 90% of the casualties of the men around him didn't come from gunfire from others toward them. They came from landmines. And many of his fellow soldiers who were there, he said, they were more athletic. They were more suited for war. They seemed to be tougher than he was, because he said, look, I didn't like even going out camping when I was growing up. I didn't like living in a tent. I couldn't stand bugs. So he was in all of this foreign area. And for some reason, others did not survive, but he did. He said, as good as they were at being soldiers, he said, I concluded it came down to somewhat of luck, but also following my inner guidance. His fellow soldiers in front of him, as well as those that were behind him, stepped on landmines, causing their death or loss of limbs. But he tapped into his inner guidance during all of that turmoil. And that experience taught him this. It taught him to let go of absolute certainty, while at the same time opening himself up to his inner guidance system. Fortunately, most of us don't have to deal with uncertainty that lead to life or death situations, like he was faced with, like Tim was faced with in his experience. But all of us are probably going to encounter uncertainty at some times in our lives. We want to know how to deal with that. I remember when I was thinking back in my own life when I was a lot younger then, early 20s. Seemed like it was just yesterday. Time goes by really fast. But I remember I came out of college and I was working for a couple of years because I wanted to, go to law school. And I had worked for a couple of years, 2.5 years or so, and I saved up enough money to go. And about 2 months before I was supposed to leave, my father died unexpectedly. I saw him in the morning going off to work. Then I came back at the end of the day, and he was on life support and expired a few days later. And my family was going through some challenges financially and needed money, so I just released all the money that I had saved up to help out. And I believe, at least at that time, that my vision for going to school was over. I didn't know quite what to do. And I was trying to work out ways and calling the school to try to make it happen. Nothing was working. And I felt, because of that uncertainty, I had a lot of anxiety. And eventually, I think I just got exhausted and just didn't focus on it anymore. And I calmed my mind, and I somehow listened to this guidance that said, just pack up your stuff and go anyway. So I drove up there, not having any money, and I enrolled in school. Needless to say, I had no idea what the outcome was going to be because I really didn't have any way to pay for it. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went back to the folks in the administration, and they were able to work out some way for me to finance, for me to get through. And that happened despite my previous calls for support, because I called them earlier, and they say, no way that we can help you, was basically what they were saying. But I think the key to successfully navigating through this experience and letting go of my need for certainty that it turned out a certain way was that I was able to follow that guidance that led me to do what I came there to do. I think as we look at this chapter, this topic, it's really about the need of unlearning the belief that we need to know with certainty what everything is going to be like, how everything is going to turn out, but cultivating and trusting our intuitive and our faith faculties that are always there. It's about getting ourselves out of the way. It's about letting go and letting God. I'm reminded of a story by Carl Jung, the psychiatrist. And he talks about the idea of the rainmaker. And he said that for 5 consecutive years in this particular village, they experienced a drought. There was no rain. There was no water. The ground was breaking up and breaking apart, and nothing would grow. And the people were starving. Their life essence was being diminished because there was no rain. And the village called on many rainmakers, and all of them failed to bring about any rain in that village. But one day they heard about a special man. He lived in a very distant village, and they asked him to come and bring rain to their village, and he came. And he stood on the land, and he looked about, and he felt about that land, and he built a little tent, and he entered into the tent, and for 4 days he just sat in the tent. And on the 5th day, it began to rain. It began to pour. And the ground soaked up the moisture, and it became fertile, it became plentiful again, and it began to bear much fruit. And they asked the rainmaker, what did he do? How did he cause the rain? Everyone else had come there and they had failed. What was it that you did? And the rainmaker responded, I did nothing. I did nothing. It kind of reminds me of what Lao Tzu said, something to the effect that he who can perfectly practice in action, all things are possible. And so the rainmaker said, when I came, I saw that the village was out of harmony with the heavens. I went into the tent. I got in harmony with my divine being. And on the 5th day, the rain came. He said he did nothing. And I think he's saying to us today that as we scan our life and we see things that are amiss, we see things that are uncertain, we see things that are discordant, we see things that are not quite to our liking, we want to control and make it happen in a certain way. We need not leap into busyness or try to make something right from an anxious, controlling space. But he's saying, be like the rainmaker. Align yourself with the heavens. Align yourself with wholeness. Align yourself with the isness of God. And then you'll see magical or mysterious and synchronistic things take place. You will see things that are amazing. And inner coherence will begin to happen. And mighty miracles will take place. Because our life will be an environment for that kind of mystery to take place as our life experience. No longer getting caught up in what I call secondary causative factors. And that means this, that, the thing that we want to happen, the thing that we want else to happen, we do this to try to make that happen. And we try to do all this to make it succeed, trying to control everything. Too much work. We end up manipulating people. We want to go to first cause. We want to go to God consciousness. And whatever needs to take place will take place. And we'll be like the lilies of the field, spinning and toiling not. We get in the flow. And then something evolves from us being in tune with that something that is beyond words. That's just another name for God. When I say something told me to do this. When you hear that feeling, when you feel that, something is that presence. Something is that intuitive nature within us. It's the natural order of life, the natural order of our universe, which is always in balance, which is always beautiful, which is always lovely, which always begins to break out the possibilities for us. Because when we get there, what we've done, we press the ctrl.alt.delete button, wiped out all the previous beliefs that we have, and tapped into the all-knowing something that is beyond words, but knows the answer even before we come up with the question. We put our trust in that power. We put our trust in that presence. We put our trust in that loving energy that is always there for us. And when we begin to do that, our life begins to unfold in its right and perfect ways, because you can't outdo this presence that we call God. Peace and blessings to you. Well, we're going to move to week 6 next week of our Faith in Action program. And as everyone wants to know, what's the color? Indigo. I have to look that up now. What is indigo? I guess that's on the blue spectrum. And the talk next week is the anxiety detox that elusive nothingness. And we will figure out what that is when we arrive next week, if not before. I may have to watch another movie. I find, wherever I need to go, that's where I go to get information. But at this time, I invite you to get your tithe, your gifts, your love offering. You can symbolically raise them to the heavens, which is ever-expanding good, and get into that flow of giving and receiving, knowing that whatever you give out does come back to you in ways that you never imagined. To support this community, to help with transformation and make a difference in people's lives and ultimately our world. So with that, I invite you to join in and say together our offertory blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
This is a 2017 Faith in Action?
Yes.
Or was it 16?
I forget.
2016.
2016.
Faith in Action by Paula. Amazing how it's appropriate yet again.
Yes.
If you know it, sing along.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And I am right here in the middle of nowhere, greeting every moment with an open heart, certain of nothing and embracing it all. With love and compassion, I make a start. And I am right here in the middle of nowhere, greeting every moment with an open mind, watching my thoughts rise and passing away, freeing my soul from the storyline. With open arms, doing all I can to shine my light in this world. Caring and kindness will do no harm. Like sunlight dances on water, like a tree bends in the breeze, I live my life beautifully, bringing joy and peace. Like sunlight dances on water, like a tree bends in the breeze, I'll give my life beautifully. Bringing joy and peace. Paula Mandela, original.
In the second slice, bringing life to the original tune in our soul-like connection. With that, let us bless our tithes, our love offerings, knowing He's going to bless the givers and the receivers. Help us create that container for those looking to transform their lives and bring forth the highest and best that is within us so that we can be who we're here to be. And with that, let us join together and sing our peace song. Yes.
Ira, my monitor went out.